Hello, I'm Dr. Seth Jenny, and today we are going to talk about measurement in empirical research, the Madden study. Some of this information comes from How to Critique Journal Articles in the Social Sciences. So let's get into it. In everyday life, people tend to unsystematically make claims without actually empirically measuring something. So they make claims such as, it's freezing out here, or it's freezing in this room, without actually measuring anything. They might say, oh, this is a great university because I had a friend there and he loved it. A sample size of one. Or, they might say that Donald Trump's a great president, and they confirm that by talking about a Fox News article, which would tend to be a little bit of bias in that. So, scholars tend to systematically have better measurements, and they try to find out what are ways that they can measure their dependent variable. Come up with study so that they can see and systematically measure what might be that dependent variable. Certainly, there are always flaws to any type of measurement, but what scholars tend to do is they try to follow a set procedures as well as validate their instruments prior to actually conducting the study, looking at past research, seeing what other people have done in the past, what measures have been used to measure that same variable. And so today I want to talk to you about how I worked on measuring a dependent variable in one of my studies on, as you can see here, American football. So I had been reading some news reports, and these news reports said things like this: Bjorn Werner, the Colts first round pick, learned how to play football from Madden games. So we're talking about John Madden, and the video game on the PS4 or the Xbox. This particular player was born in Germany. He learned football by playing Madden. Read another article. 2013 NFL Combine, Margus Hunt learned football from video games. This gentleman is from Estonia, a native of Estonia, that originally learned about American football through playing Madden NFL, the video game. Interesting. Then we come to Cairo Santos. You might know him as the Chiefs kicker. Santos was born in Brazil. Cairo Santos learned the rules of football by watching Madden on his Xbox. The casual person might say, you know what? Hey, I have a friend, and he learned so much about American football through playing the video game. Well, rather than just making certain claims and seeing a very small sample size of 3 articles, we wanted to test this claim. So did another search. This is what I found. Notice this is a press release from EA Sports, the maker of Madden NFL, and that certainly introduces quite a bit of bias. Study finds playing EA Sports Madden NFL creates more passionate and knowledgeable fans. So I was much more interested in the variable of knowledgeable fans. What can you cognitively learn and pick up through playing video games? So we see here, and I'm like, well, this says it's the University of Oregon survey. How is this survey conducted? Looked for the methods. Keep scrolling. Here we go. NFL survey IQ was conducted by the University of Oregon. The study included 9,000 surveys were conducted online. Survey results were nationally representative. It provides no demographic table of the participants, It just presents a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. So, still minimal information, biased information. Let's conduct a study. So, what are we measuring here? We are we want what ended up doing is we set up a study where we took 40 international students at a university. They were studying from another country into the U.S. And we also had a control group that did not do any type of video gaming, but we wanted to set up a pretest of their Madden knowledge, or not Madden knowledge, football knowledge. Have the experimental group actually play 8 sessions of Madden on the video game, and then post-test that group. And we also pre- and post-tested a control group who did not do any video gaming, because certainly some people might pick up information about football just through watching television, and so we had that comparison group to make sure that we could run some statistics to see was the increase or decrease in knowledge of football through the video game and not just other external variables. That's why we had that control group. So what we ran into is this. Where do we get a assessment tool to test somebody's football knowledge? Well, we first started looking at the NFL and high school football, and we looked at officials' exams. Here's the problem. These entities don't want to share their exams. Plus, the majority of this information is all focused on the rules, and we wanted to know more than just the rules of football. So that wasn't a great avenue for us. So we started with NFL Rules Quiz Book we found on Amazon, and we bought that, and we got all the questions from the NFL Rules Quiz Book. Next, we got the Interactive Football Book for Kids, football trivia and cool facts. There are minimal types of books out there which had questions which focused on American football, and not just trivia, such as who was in the 1985 Super Bowl. We wanted to know more specific information about football. This was sort of some of the best things that we could do. And so if we look at, I'm going to go through some of the procedures and the methods. So this is the text of the finished article, but we're in the methods section here, and I'm just going to go through what we did. So we first got the NFL Rules Quiz Book, we got the football rules, and we came up and got 157 American football knowledge questions. Then we did a content analysis where we looked at, we categorized all these 157 questions, and it came into 5 categories: rules, terminology, field layout, official signals, and player position. So player position responsibility. So these were the 5 categories that we split up and could see based upon these questions. Then we did some pilot testing. You pilot test instruments to make sure that it is measuring what you intend to measure. We make sure that we try to remove or adjust any confusing questions. And so we had a small sample go through, and when we got rid of the incorrect questions, the repeated questions, or unclear questions, certainly you could see from those texts that we used, they were not the most well-known books that we could find on it. We narrowed it down to 52 rules, 9 terminology, 8 field layout, 7 official, and 14 player position questions. Then we realized that with any research, time is one of those things that the most difficult part of research is really interacting and getting your participants to participate in the study and stay with it. And so we realized that we could not have a very long survey in addition to having them do the gaming. And so we wanted it to make it a manageable 15 to 20 minute type of survey about their football knowledge. And so we narrowed it down to those 5 categories in having 7 questions per category. And we did that through also looking at the Human Kinetics Sports Rules book. So we looked at this book, which goes through all the sports rules of 54 different sports. And we went to that American football section, and this is what Human Kinetics, a very well-known publishing company within physical education, felt was the basics of what do you need to know about this sport. And so we looked at those questions that we narrowed it down to. Were they covered in this sport rules book on American football? What Human Kinetics authors felt were the most important things relating to American football. The next thing that we did is we didn't want to just pick out any official signals, especially ones that weren't called very often. And so what we did is we went to this website, NFLpenalties.com. You can call to question the validity of this website. However, we picked the top 7 penalties that were called in the previous year, found on this website for the NFL, and we included questions on those 7 penalties for official signals. And so after we finalized those 35 questions, we had a multiple choice format, 3 possible selections for each of those 35 questions. We sent this survey over to an NFL employee who acted as a content matter expert. It went through each question, make sure it was not confusing, made sure that we weren't missing any major component of American football. One question I know that we added was about offensive linemen based upon feedback from the content matter expert. So here's some sample questions. How many points are awarded for a made field goal? Rules category, the answer is 3. During a kickoff, what type of kick is used to try and keep possession of the ball? It's a terminology question. Answer, onside kick. How tall is the crossbar of the field goal of the goalpost? Field layout question, 10 feet. Which offensive player snaps the ball to the quarterback to start a typical play? Player position, the answer would be the center. Lastly, all official signal questions involved were given an image, and so, for example, it would be an official holding the wrist, and that would be the sign for holding here. So the other thing that we did is we collected our survey data through the computer, American football terminology questions. So this is Qualtrics is a survey-based, web-based program that collects all of our data for us. So here's the 7 terminology questions, the 7 field layout questions, official signals. You can see the images there, 3 options for each question, player positions. So those are those 5 categories. So you can see this instrument was performed and created systematically. We had a method to it. Sometimes researchers will use more than one method to measure the same variable. This was actually a mixed method study, and so we did focus groups afterward to also try to assess what the participants felt they learned, and so that would be a qualitative way to try to collect some of that data. So in conclusion, the layperson is not systematic with the way that they make claims and measure things. Social scientists use rigorous methods to try to set up instruments and measures for that, and there's always fallacies or problems with all types of measurements, but we try to systematically find the best